Ladies and gentlemen, the American Jury and Bulldog Nation, is with great sadness that I announce publicly, I have the permission of the family to do so, that my father-in-law, Jerry Zimmerer, passed away just a few days ago. My father-in-law, Jerry Zimmerer, was a great man, and he honored me by being my biggest fan. This guy prayed for me all the time, always gave me words of encouragement. He was just an absolute wonderful father-in-law. But he was also a wonderful husband to his wife, Becky. I believe they were married 69 years. They got a great love story. They actually married, they met when they were teenagers, and they married, I think, when she was just 18 years old. She was in nursing school, and she left nursing school. They weren't allowed to leave their dorm, and she went and got married to Jerry, then went back to the dorm. But they moved to Kansas after being married. Then he joined the Air Force, and he had an incredible military career at the Air Force. He served out in the Dakotas at an Air Force base that was involved in nuclear bombing. He actually served some time in Greenland, of all places. But he worked on loading and unloading bombs to the big bombers. But Jerry Zimmerer was a great man. Then he settled in Louisville, where he lived for about 30 years, raised his family. He had 4 children. Those in the independence community know him. You have Dave Zimmer, known as Zip, Martha Garrison, my wife Mary Zimmer, and Joe Zimmer. But the family is grateful that they had him for 91 years. And you know, he was just a good guy. I'm going to tell you a couple stories to personalize this. I first met him, or knew who he was, because he was the guy who ran the dice table at the Independence Firemen's Picnic, St. Cecilia Church, St. Patrick Church, and he just loved it. You know, he was always getting people revved up to bed. He just would work those festivals. And I remember playing the dice table was what I liked to use, and I just met him that way. Then I found out that he was Mary's dad. So I liked him even more because I had a crush on Mary. But then, and this is just great, after I married Mary, he retired after 30 years from the double envelope. He was the territory manager up here for 30 some odd years. He was so dependable. But he was so meticulous with everything. He kept everything completely organized. By the way, completely planned his funeral, his burial, and everything else. Which, by the way, and we'll put this up on the screen, is a Monday from 10 to 12 at the Swindler Funeral Home right next to the law office. And then there is a private burial at St. Cecilia with the family. But anyway, Jerry, he loved to golf. He worked at the Kenton County Golf Course. He worked as a volunteer when he was at St. Cecilia Church for a long time. He helped put on the seminars, or not seminars, retreats for married couples. He loved the golf. His pride and joy is he got a hole-in-one and won a golf tournament down in Florida. He worked at the Kenton County Golf Course. He worked in hospice for the longest time. I mean, it was for years. He and Becky volunteered their services at hospice. He was a proud graduate of St. X in Louisville. He never left his Louisville roots. He loved the fact that he was from St. X in Louisville. He coached his kids at sports when he was youngster. He loved sports. He loved his UK. He loved his Bengals. But here is a great story, and something that I learned from him. At some point in time when he was retired, he was always looking for something to do. That's why he did hospice. That's why he worked at the Kenton County Golf Course for so long. And I told him, I said, how would you like to be a shadow juror? And he says, what do you mean? What's that mean? I says, well, I try these cases all the time. And I said, it would be kind of neat if you came to the courtroom, sat in the back, watched the trial, and at the end of each day, you could give me feedback. So, and I forget the man's first name. His name is Price. He and Mr. Price began coming to all of my trials. Now, this was back when I was trying medical malpractice cases after I left Deters, Benzinger, and Lavelle, and I started out winning a whole bunch, but then I went on a losing streak because medical malpractice cases are very difficult. And every one of them we thought we would win and then we would lose. It was very frustrating. But he said something to me from all of his work as a shadow juror for me. He said, Eric, I'm recognizing something here, and that is this. It is easier to win a medical malpractice case when the doctor does something that harms the patient versus fails to order a test and the patient is harmed. And I said, that's a pretty good observation. I agree with you. So when in 2013 we were flooded with the Durrani cases, I remember talking to him and I said, he asked me about the Durrani. I always kept him up to date on everything that was going on. He says, I said, guess what, Jerry? These are the good ones. These are cases where a doctor did something wrong. He says, good, because when he found out how many there were, he was worried about it. And I said, no, these are the good ones. So I learned that from him. That was his observation. And by the way, he was right. And I've carried that with me. But I had a good personal relationship with him. Those of you in the community that knew him, I want you to know that he's passed. The family is grateful for you pausing to remember him. But, you know, they always make jokes about in-laws. Well, I was blessed to have Jerry Zimmerer as my father-in-law. This is the Bulldog. Every dog has their day. Today is Jerry Zimmerer Day.